thanks for coming to the Keys to Car Buying event hosted by ASC and Wescom. We're really excited to answer any questions you might have about car buying or auto insurance. But before we start, I just want to take the time today to promote the ASC sticker contest going on right now. We're currently holding a contest for ASC members to design the next ASC sticker, and the winner will receive $50 in Amazon credit. The submission period closes this Friday, but if you'd still like to participate, please contact me, Derek Chow, and I'll give you all the information you need. And without further ado, we can get started, and I'll let my committee introduce themselves, starting with Katie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Katie. I'm a second-year molecular cell and developmental biology major, and I'm the PA for the Finance Committee.
Business economics major, and I'm a coordinator for the Finance Committee.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shannon. I'm a first-year Biz Econ major, and I'm also a coordinator for the Finance Committee. And so now we would like to introduce our first speaker for today's workshop, Sal Murguia, who is a partner development representative at Wescom Credit Union.
Thank you so much, Shannon. Thank you to you and Derek and the rest of your team. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sal Murguia. I'm partner development representative with Wescom Credit Union. I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening for this informative workshop, and we're glad to be here tonight. Let me go through and just do some housekeeping real quick. Joining me tonight with the Wescom team is David Bochter. David Bochter is my colleague in the Partner Development Department. He's going to be monitoring the chat, and he's going to make sure that all of your questions are answered and making sure that we have all the information squared away with our speakers. Also joining me tonight is Martha Prado, our UCLA branch manager. She's going to speak with you in a minute, but we're going to work through some other housekeeping businesses as well. Our featured speakers tonight are Tim Ketchapaw. He's our member. He's in member sales with Autoland, and Autoland's an associate organization with Wescom. So Tim really knows his business. He's been doing these types of presentations with us and to the UCLA audience for quite some time now. So Tim's going to give you some great information tonight. And also joining me is Marvin Fernandez. He's the insurance consultant manager with Wescom Insurance Services. So he's going to be discussing some of our auto insurance policies and ins and outs of auto insurance with you. So Marvin's going to give you some great information as well. So as we get started, let me share my screen for a minute and just give you a little bit of a background of Wescom, share some information with those of you who haven't heard about who we are and what we do. So Wescom Credit Union is a credit union, obviously. We were established in 1934, so we've been serving Southern California for over 85 years, and we are one of the largest credit unions in Southern California. And what separates credit unions from banks is that we're non-for-profit organizations. So we have similar products and services as a bank, like checking account and savings accounts. But since we are a non-for-profit cooperative, we are able to give our members the ability to save money through lower fees and lower rates. And through that, I just want to remind everyone that we have 24 Southern California branches. Now, with that being said, I want to reintroduce Martha Prado, our branch manager at the Wescom UCLA branch, because she and her team are going to be managing your accounts if you decide to join Wescom. So Martha, please, if you could speak to the audience and let them know who you are and introduce what you would do for anybody who decides to open up an account with Wescom, and talk about some of the special features with Wescom as well.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here today and having us. As Sal mentioned, my name is Martha Prado. I'm the branch manager of the UCLA branch on campus. We are back on campus now Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. We are there to serve, you or the community with any needs that you may have. Currently, we are having various promotions over at the branch, one of which is the Bruin promotion, that if you decided to join in the credit union, you can make up to $500 by utilizing some of Wescom benefits that we have to offer, which some of which we will discuss today during the Zoom meeting today. We are there to help you with any financial needs that you may have, anywhere from a savings to checking account or just guidance on credit cards or any of that nature. So stop by. You can certainly reach out to us via email. I'll go ahead and put in the chat my email address should you have any questions or just any kind of questions with regards to some of the presentation that pertains to the branch. But just know that we're there and happy to serve the UCLA community Monday through Friday from 10 to 5. Back to you, Sal. Oh, actually, let me touch back on something that might be of interest. We do offer, through our partnership with UCLA, we currently offer a zero interest technology loan. That's up to $3,000. Any technology that is purchased at the bookstore in UCLA, you may be able to finance it with a zero interest. So if you're interested, feel free to reach out. Again, we are back on campus Monday through Friday, or you can just shoot us an email. Go ahead and put the email address there. I think they've already put a link there, and you can certainly ask any questions and we'll guide you through the process.
Martha, thank you so much for that information. And again, I just wanted to express to the UCLA community, credit unions are there to serve our members. So we're about building relationships and helping the Bruin community build better lives. So we are relationship driven, we're service oriented, and I don't want to get too much into the salesmanship of Wescom, but I'm very, very passionate about expressing that to the UCLA community, since we are an official banking partner of UCLA Campus Life Athletics, and we are a partner with Alumni Association as well. So with that, we also have some resources that we'd like to share with you in case you're looking for further financial guidance in helping you build a better financial situation for yourself. We have a UCLA financial advisor that's exclusive to the UCLA community. His name's Carl Gerstenacker, who is a UCLA alum. And this is his contact information, where you can contact him via email or through the 888 number. So if you're looking at, learning about basic investments, learning about your personal financial situation, Carl's there to help you out, and you can make an appointment with him and he'll be ready to serve you. Another resource that we have for the UCLA community is that we're a proud sponsor of the UCLA Financial Wellness Program. So the UCLA Financial Wellness Program is a peer-to-peer, student-to-student organization that can help you with some of your financial wellness as well. So if you want to make an appointment with the UCLA Financial Wellness Program, there's their contact information on the screen, and they're happy to help you out as well. Furthermore, here's some contact information for Wescom in general. When you're associated with UCLA, you can visit our microsite, or you can call us on our 888 number as well. Finally, when you participate tonight, one lucky winner is going to have a chance to win a $25 gift card to the UCLA store. So we encourage you to ask questions via the chat. And like I mentioned earlier, my colleague David Bochter will be there to help you in answering those questions and making sure that our presenters will address those questions as well. But with that being said, enough of me doing all the talking. I want to turn this over to my colleagues in this program and making sure that you get all the great information that you're looking for. So without further ado, let me turn this over to Tim Ketchpaw, our member sales at Autoland. So Tim, take it away.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. I want to thank you for your time this evening. I love doing these things and giving you some information on car buying. My background is always been automotive. I've loved this industry forever, and I started very young, and I was at Honda for 16 years. I worked everything from the front floor all the way to the manager's office to finance, even helped in the service department for a little bit as well. So I did that for 16 years at a Honda dealership. Loved it. Some things changed, and I ended up moving to Autoland, and I've been at Autoland now for 9 years. So I've been doing this quite a while. I know some good tricks and some tips that I'm going to share with you tonight on auto buying. Trust everyone can see that okay. All right, so today we're going to cover a few things. We're going to cover setting your budget. You're going to hear me talk about budget a few times tonight because it is one of the most important things you can do before buying a vehicle. So we'll talk about setting your budget. We'll talk about financing. We're going to talk about researching vehicles, car buying options, types of vehicles, new, used, and leasing. Trade-ins, we'll touch on trade-ins a little bit, and maintenance and insurance as well. So setting your budget, we'll start with that. One of the most important things you can do is figure out what you can spend before you spend it. What can you realistically afford? If you can afford a $400 a month payment, then know you can afford that. But when you think of that, kind of expect the unexpected. And what we mean by that is, are you buying a bigger vehicle so you're getting less fuel mileage? Or are you buying a more expensive vehicle and your insurance is going to go up? Or maybe your oil changes are going to cost more, or things like that you want to pay attention to. Is it going to burn only premium fuel? So you're going to be paying more in fuel for that as well. So you want to put that into your budget as well. Is the car going to cost you more per month or less per month? New versus pre-owned vehicles. Take a look, get a pre-approval with your credit union, find out what your interest rate is going to be before you do that. And you can kind of get an idea of what you're going to look at. And we'll talk a little bit later about new and used. Don't forget the day-to-day expenses. And I talked a little bit about that with fuel as being the main one, paying for your insurance, tire wear and tear, is maintenance going to cost more, things like that. Wescom has some wonderful loan finance calculators on their website. So you can go on their website, you can enter in all the numbers from price of the vehicle, trade-in, APR, all that you can enter in, and it'll tell you what your payment's going to be. So there's no surprises. Know your credit score before you go to a dealership. Extremely important. That's why we talk about getting approved. Get pre-approved before you go look for a car. A couple reasons you're going to want to do that. The main reason is know your budget. You know what you can afford a month, but know what you can get approved for. There's nothing worse than falling in love with a vehicle and not getting approved for it, or going to buy a vehicle and learning you could have gotten a nicer vehicle. So always get pre-approved first, find out what your budget's going to be. The second good thing about that is when you go to a dealership, they're not there to help you. I mean, they're to sell a car. So if you don't know what you're approved for, a lot of times they will put you in something you really can't afford. They'll extend the term out longer than they should. You really need to get pre-approved first so you have that knowledge. When you go to a dealership, knowledge is power. Knowing your credit score ahead of time so you know what your interest rate should be. If you go in, you don't know what your credit score is, you don't know if you're tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. If you don't have an idea of what your score should be, the dealership's not going to be your friend and help you with that. They're going to just run it. Oh, you don't know what your credit is? No problem. We'll run it for you. And then they'll put you at 5 or 6% because they make money off that percentage. Where with Wescom, you may have been at 2%. So pay attention to that. Cost of insurance, we talked about that. Another thing, when you're looking at your budget, people always forget tax, sales tax, and DMV fees. California charges it. There's nothing you can do about it. There's no getting around it. Tax and DMV fees. So in the Los Angeles area, figure about 11%, 11.5% for both of those, depending on where you're at. Ventura County, maybe closer to 10%, but figure in LA area, about 11% for tax and license fees. So don't forget that part. Add that to your budget. Maintenance and insurance. Another thing you're going to want to add to that budget is additional coverages. Your gap insurance. You're going to want to get that through your credit union, but the gap insurance covers, say you buy a car for $20,000. In say 3 years, the car gets totaled or it gets stolen and you still owe say $17,000 on it, but insurance is saying, well, it's only worth $10,000, then you owe that $7,000. So gap covers that gap in coverage. So, it's important to get that. So you want to add that when you're buying a vehicle. So include that in your budget. Any maintenance programs, if you're buying an Audi or I believe BMW is separate now as well. If you want the maintenance program with it, you have to add that to the price of the vehicle. Any protection packages, extended warranties, load jack protection, anything like that, you're going to want to add that to your budget as well. So think about it ahead of time and make sure you think of all those things before you go out and you buy a vehicle. So financing, basically, if you need help to pay for a car, that's what financing it is. It's arranging your financing ahead of time. You can apply for an auto loan with Wescom. It's very easy to do it online, or you can go into the branch right there on site, and they'll tell you what your rate should be. They're going to tell you what your approval is. So you'll have a budget and what you should pay, and you'll know your payment ahead of time. And when you go to a dealer, you show them, hey, I already know what I'm approved for. I already know what my interest rate should be, and I know what my payment should be. Knowledge is power, and they'll know they can't mess around too much with you. So that's always good. Before you go buy a car and get your heart set on a car, get that done first. There's 2 to 6 years repayment period. The shorter the term, the shorter your interest rate. So keep that in mind. Down payment may be required. It definitely helps with the payment. It'll lower your monthly payment when you put a down payment down. Interest is going to be based on a couple different things, mainly your credit score. Your credit history is primarily what's based on, but it's also going to be based on the year of the vehicle you're buying, Is it new? Is it pre-owned? That can change those as well. And then some auto loan programs that Wescom has, they have great auto loan programs. You go to a dealership and there's not many programs, and I'll talk a little bit about their 0% and that kind of stuff later. But the auto loan programs that you'll get at the credit union or Wescom versus the dealership is, for example, if you get your insurance with Wescom, they're going to lower your interest rate. The dealership doesn't do that. If you're a first-time buyer, if you make all your payments on time for 12 months, at the end of the 12 months, they'll review your loan. And if you've made all your payments, they'll lower your interest rate for you. Programs like that make them stand out, and dealerships are not going to do that for you, but the credit union will. So research options. When you're going to look at a vehicle, read the reviews and the reliability reports online. Know what you're getting into before you buy it. My wife for a long time, she wanted a Range Rover. That was the car she always wanted. And it's fine if she wanted one, but I told her, I said, read the reviews first, because they're not good. They're very expensive to maintain. They're in the shop a lot. They just have some issues. And, once she read the review, she decided she didn't want it. So is that something you want to tackle? Or if you're buying a Honda or Toyota, it's good. So you don't have to worry about things like that. Use your Wescom car buying services. Autoland, obviously, is my favorite, but they have other car buying options as well for you. And then you check out your online resources. I'm sure you all do. We all have our phones now, and it's really easy to check it right in the palm of your hand. You can look at True Car values, AAA values, Costco values. Look at the manufacturer websites. You can take a look at different models, different features, get the MSRP on the vehicle, so you kind of get a ballpark of what that vehicle might cost. You can see what rebates are available from there. You can do this all from Autoland.com as well. If you're looking at pre-owned vehicles, look at Kelley Blue Book or Edmunds.com and take a look, see what the prices are going for, so you make sure you don't overpay for the vehicle. And you never want to pay more than the value of the vehicle. Right now, it's kind of tough on that. I always say you never want to pay more than the value of the vehicle, but right now, because we have a shortage of vehicles, it's a little tough. But do your research on that. Auto Trader, if you're looking for pre-owned vehicles, is another great place to take a look at pricing and see what people are selling their vehicles for. Dealer website, one of the tricks at the dealership is, if you call a dealership and ask them if they have a specific vehicle, I would be shocked if they told you no, we don't have it. They're always going to say, yeah, we have it. Come on down, but you better hurry. We got somebody looking at it right now. And then when you get there, if they have it, great. If they don't, we just sold it, but we have something that looks similar to it. Let's go take a test drive. So go on their website and take a look at their inventory and see if they actually have that vehicle before you waste your time. Carfax, if you're buying a pre-owned vehicle, make sure to get a Carfax on it. All the pre-owned cars from Autoland, you'll get a Carfax ahead of time, but you want to see a couple things. One, you want to see the history. If there is a history on the vehicle, where it was maintained, where the vehicle was purchased from. If it was purchased from Texas or Florida when they were having hurricanes, chances are it's got water damage and you don't want that vehicle. So you want to pay attention to things like that. And then, of course, Autoland.com, again, my favorite. You can take a look at all new cars. We have roughly 2,000 pre-owned vehicles on our website. We actually have access to more if you don't see what you want, but you can kind of get an idea what you're looking for. I'm going to back up a little bit. When you go to the dealer website or the manufacturer website, you'll need to put in your zip code, and that's fine to do that, but don't put in any more information than that. As soon as you give a dealer your phone number, your name, or your email, you will be hounded day and night. That's what they do. They hire people just to call and email all day long. That's what they do. So don't give them too much information other than your zip code. So a couple things. When you go to the dealership, a dealer purchase. So this is where I'm going to give you some tips and tricks. One, know what you're going to pay before you go in. You've got your pre-approval. It's knowledge is power. So take that pre-approval offer with you when you go in. That way they know that you know what you should be paying, what your interest rate should be, and what your payments should be. So make sure you take that in with you. Another thing I'm going to recommend, a little trick I'm going to recommend, is when you go in to buy a vehicle, a lot of times people want to test drive vehicles before they buy them. So one of the tricks of the dealership is, I need your driver's license and your proof of insurance before we can go test drive a vehicle. So they'll give that to the salesperson. Salesperson will go put it in a safe place, and then they'll go test drive a car. Well, that salesperson's job is to keep you there. He doesn't want you going home. So he doesn't want you leaving, going to another dealership or anything like that. So what they'll do is they'll come back from the test drive. And if you want to pursue and buy the vehicle, wonderful. Then they'll start the rest of the process, which I'll get into. But if you don't, you say, you know what, I'm going to go take a look at a couple more vehicles. I want to think about it. What they're going to do, because their job is to keep you there for a certain amount of time. And I'll explain that as well. But they'll go, okay, no problem. Let me go get your driver's license and proof of insurance. And they'll disappear for 10, 15 minutes. And they'll come back like, you know what, I'm so sorry. It's locked to my manager's desk right now because we wanted to keep it safe. He's at lunch. He's not going to be back for a little while. Why don't we go test drive another car while we wait? And that's one of their tricks to keep you there. The reason they want to keep you there, the dealership, they spend a lot of money researching on how to get people to buy from them. And one of the big things that they realized was, or they discovered, was that if a client comes on the lot and they're there for less than 90 minutes, there's only a 12% chance that they're going to buy a car from that dealership. It's not very good. As soon as that person's been there for 90 minutes or longer, it bumps up to 83% chance that they're going to buy a car. That's a big difference. So that salesperson's job, he's actually just called a greeter at the dealership. The greeter's job is to keep you there for a minimum of 90 minutes. They're going to take pictures of you with the car. They're going to recommend you take selfies. They're going to recommend you post it on your social. And they're doing that because once you do that, you're committed, kind of. You want to go home without the car after you posted, look what I'm doing right now. So that's kind of their job. So be careful with that. So make a copy of your driver's license and a copy of your proof of insurance. When you go test drive a vehicle, give them the copy of your driver's license and proof of insurance. So when you're ready to leave, you can just leave. You've got your license. Who cares if they have a copy? They can't really do anything with it. Don't give them your social. Don't do any credit reports or anything before a test drive. And then you can leave. You don't have to sit there and get tricked into staying. So that's my one quick tip for you is to make a copy of your driver's license, proof of insurance ahead of time, and that way you can give it to them. And if they don't want to give it back to you, who cares? You can just walk out and go away. So, but if you've been there and you're gone through the process, you've already talked with the greeter, you've been there your 90 minutes or longer, depending on who they are, their job this whole time has been to tell you yes, no problem. You want a $60,000 car for $30,000? No problem, we'll work it out. You want $10,000 for your $2,000 trade-in? No problem, we'll work it out. That's their job. They just want to keep saying yes, getting you excited about the vehicle, getting you to picture yourself in the car. Then you're going to talk to the closer. He's the next gentleman you'll talk to or lady you'll talk to when you're at the dealership. And that person, their job is to get you a little more aligned with what your payment might be, what car you want, taking a look at your trade-in, getting the value for your trade-in, that kind of thing. And they're going to keep you there another hour to an hour and a half. Just moving numbers around is what they're doing. So they'll do what they call a 4-square. And they'll put the price of the vehicle in one square, your trade-in in another square, your payment in one square, and your interest rate in another square. And they'll just keep moving those numbers around until they find something you like, and then they'll hone in on it. So they're going to talk to you for a while. And then, once you agree, okay, $400 a month is what we agreed on. $25,000 for the car is what we agreed on. Let's do this. So next, you're going to go into your finance department. That's a whole different ballgame in finance department. When you get there, and whether you're financing car dealership or not, you have to go through the finance department to do all your DMV documents and dealer documents, because that's their last chance to make money on you is what they're doing. So at that point, before you go in there, and the dealership's not going to like you doing this, but you need to do it. You need to step back, take a breath, because right now you're in the momentum of the excitement and the emotion of buying a vehicle, and they want you in that momentum. So you need to break that momentum and just stop for a second, go get a cup of coffee, grab a soda, grab a bite to eat. And again, they're not going to like it. They're going to tell you, well, if we stop now, that deal might not be good. Well, I'll tell you right now, if you walk out the door, they're going to be, oh, just kidding. Come on back. So the deal is always good. So just, take a break and make sure it is what you want to do. Make sure you have all your numbers aligned in your head. Make sure you've taken a look at your pre-approval so you know what all your numbers should be. And then you go into finance department. Now, I had one of the dealerships I worked with, we had a finance manager that he would not see anybody at the dealership until they had been there a minimum of 4 hours. That was his rule. He wouldn't talk to anybody unless they had been there 4 hours. And there's a couple of reasons for it. One, he wanted them to have their time invested. Once your time is invested, you're going to buy a car. Why would you waste all this time if you're not going to buy a car? He wanted you a little frustrated. He wanted you ready to sign. I just want to sign and go home. I want to get home. I want to go show off my new car. I want to drive my new car. I want to get out of here. So he wanted you a little, impatient and ready to go. And when you get impatient and ready to go, you're not paying attention to the paperwork anymore. And that was his whole deal. So minimum 4 hours, he would then talk to somebody. And what he would do is he would bring it in. A lot of finance managers will do this. They'll bring in the paperwork, and the payment that you agreed on was $400. All of a sudden, it'll be $550 or even $600. They'll inflate it. And what they'll do is they'll add all their warranties, all their gaps. They'll add the window etching, any protection packages they have. They'll add everything to that vehicle. And some people, they'll talk them into it and they'll buy it all. And it is what it is. But most of the time, people are like, wait a second, if we were talking about a $400 payment, now we're at $550 a month or $600 a month. No, I'm not going to swing that. And then he would go into his spiel about, protecting your investment. And by the way, cars are not investments, but he would go into protecting your investment. You want to make sure you have the insurance. And you want to make sure you have the protection. And, I've run your credit. I've seen what you make. You can afford this. Or, you've got your kids in the car. You want to make sure they're safe. So he would do his pitch. Some people, like I said, would buy it. Some people wouldn't. And when they say no, they're like, you know what? I really like you. You remind me of my mom, or you remind me of my sister. I want to get you taken care of. So let me see what I can do for you. Let me see if I can get these packages thrown in at the payment we had talked about, closer to that 400 mark. I'll be right back. And he would leave, and he would go talk to his manager, is what he would say. He actually didn't have a manager. He was the one that ran the numbers, and he was the final say. And he would leave people in the office for anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes because he wanted to get them agitated again and ready to go, just ready to sign. If it's close to the 400, I'm signing and I'm out of here. What he would do is he'd come back. Great news for you. We really want you to have these protection packages, and we really like you. We just need to get this car moved. Don't tell your friends I'm giving this to you, but we need to get this car out. It's my last car of the month. I'll get you everything. $475 a month. We'll get it all done. Most of the time, people will say okay to that because it's close to what you had talked about. They'll buy it. At that point is when you really need to pay attention to the paperwork, because what he is to do is he would extend the loan term from 60 months to 72 months or even 84 months to get the lower payment. And if the payment went under the 400 that you had discussed, or whatever the payment was that you had agreed upon, he would raise the interest rate to get the payment a little over what you had discussed. You'll never pay what you talked about. It'll always be a little more. And people didn't pay attention to that part of it. So they would leave thinking they had a 60-month loan, and really they had a 72-month loan or longer. Once you sign the paperwork, you agree to it. It's yours. So there's not much you can do. So when you get into that finance office, make sure that's where you're paying attention. To be honest, if you have a pre-approval, there's no reason to finance at all with the dealership. So you don't need to do that. But if you do, that's where you're going to want to pay attention. Take a look at your interest rate. That's why you want your pre-approval ahead of time. You know what your interest rate should be. You know what your payment should be, and negotiate the price of the car because you know what your budget's going to be. So pay attention when you get into that finance area. Don't let the dealers fool you. They're going to start negotiating payment because they know they can mess the other numbers around, extend the term, move the interest rate around to adjust the payment. So negotiate the price of the vehicle because you've got your pre-approval. You know what you can spend for the payment you want. So negotiate the price, and don't sign a contract unless you're comfortable signing that contract. And they'll tell you that when you want to take a break, like, you know what, I just need to take a break and breathe. Yeah, no problem. Just go ahead and sign this contract so we can lock the car in so nobody buys it from you or buys it from out from under you. Don't do that. Don't sign the contract until you're done, until you know your interest rate's right, know your payments right, know the price of the car is right. Don't sign anything unless you're comfortable signing it. Honestly, personally, I think you just use a Wescom auto buying partner. It'll be a lot easier for you. With Autoland, you don't have to worry about any of that. We take care of that part for you. We get all the documents printed ahead of time. We deliver the car to you with the documents. There's no going back and forth. It's super easy. The other thing I want to talk about is private purchase, private party purchase. And that's buying a car from an individual selling their vehicle, right? If you're going to do that, make sure you run a Carfax on the car. You're going to look for damage. Has there been any damage on the Carfax? Major damage? If it's minor, no big deal. It could be bumper, especially living in LA, right? We all have dinged up bumpers and stuff. So what you're looking for is major damage, where the car came from, like I talked about earlier. So make sure you run that Carfax on the vehicle to see where it came from. Also, when you meet them for the test driver to check out the vehicle, make sure it's at a safe location, very public. I know my local sheriff station has 4 parking spots right out front that is available for people to meet for things like that. If you're meeting to buy something or to check out a car, you can meet at a sheriff station. So, make sure you meet somewhere safe. People, I'm a very optimistic person and I love to think everybody's kind, but there's some shady people out there. So you need to be careful and protect yourself. So make sure you're meeting somewhere safe. Test drive the vehicle. I've seen it so many times working at the dealership when people come in like, I just bought this car and it's making this weird noise, and they ended up having a bad transmission or a bad axle or something like that. And they didn't test drive the car ahead of time. And what happens a lot of times is when people know something's wrong with their car, they'll go to sell it and they'll tell you, I don't really know you. I don't feel comfortable with you buying this vehicle or driving this vehicle. I'm just not comfortable with you driving it. I don't know you. And people, they're excited. They're getting a good deal on the car because it's damaged. They don't know that, but they're excited and they buy the car without test driving it. And then they take it to their mechanic and find out all this stuff's wrong with it. So always test drive it ahead of time. Make sure there's no weird noises or anything like that. One thing I'd recommend is always get it inspected by either a dealership or a mechanic you trust. Have them check out the car. It's typically going to be around $90 to $110 for that inspection. It's worth every penny because they're going to take a look at the brakes and the tire wear and the fluids, and if they'll put it up in the air and see if there's any damage underneath the vehicle. They're really going to take a good look at it for you, especially if it's at a dealership. So always get it inspected ahead of time. I mean, it's cheap insurance to make sure the car is a good vehicle. And then a couple other things you can look at when you're buying a pre-owned vehicle, some tricks that we used to do at the dealership and at Autoland as well to make sure the car that people are trading in is a decent car. Always look under the driver's and passenger seats because, people vacuum and do kind of a wash on the vehicle before they sell it, but they really don't get in the grooves, right? So take a look under the seats and see, is it disgusting under the seat? Because then chances are the whole car looked like that at one point. And then in the trunk, pop the trunk open and take a look where the spare tire is and see if it's clean in there or not clean in there. So pay attention to that kind of thing if you when you're buying a private party purchase or pre-owned vehicle. 3 different ways to buy a car, right? You could buy a car brand new, and the cool thing about a new vehicle is you're getting the vehicle you want. We can even order a vehicle if we can't find, say you want an F-150, we can't get the specific F-150 you want. We can order it from the factory the way you want it. So that's a great thing about a new vehicle. It's got all the latest technology and safety equipment. So that's a wonderful thing to have on a new vehicle. It's in perfect condition. Tires are brand new. Doesn't need any maintenance. New car smell. That's probably the most popular part of buying a new car, is having that new car smell. But you are going to have a higher monthly payment, because it's a new car. It's going to be a little more expensive, and it does depreciate. When you buy a car, it depreciates. So that's kind of one of the downfalls of a new car. Now, buying a pre-owned vehicle, they're going to be less expensive. So that's a good part. You're going to get a little more for your money. You're going to get better options. It's more affordable. You're going to avoid the depreciation. So that's always good. But the trade-off is you're going to have a little more wear and tear on the vehicle. You're going to have maybe some dings or some scratches or maybe some spots on the seat or the floor. You're not going to have that new car smell. So there's always a trade-off, right? You don't know the car history. You pull the Carfax, so you know what's there, but you don't know the exact history on the vehicle. And then you're going to have some maintenance costs, because if you're buying from private party, no matter what they say, take it in and get the oil changed and get some fluids changed, transmission service, that kind of thing, just to make sure everything's up to date. And then you can lease a vehicle. That's another great option if it fits for you. What's nice about a lease is your payments are low for a nicer vehicle because you're only paying for part of the vehicle. Short term though, typically it only goes up to 2 years to 3 years, 3 years being the most common in our area. But you don't own the vehicle. It's not your car. So you have to take great care of the car. You're in a lease contract and you have mileage limitations. So you have to make sure you're under mileage when you turn it in, because they charge, typically it's around 25 cents, 25 to 35 cents a mile that you go over. And then, since it's not yours, it has to come back to them in as good a shape as you got it, basically. So, it can have a couple things here and there, but if it needs tires or brakes, they're going to charge you for that. If there's damage to the vehicle and it needs to be repaired, they're going to charge you for that. So, with leasing, it can be tricky. So pay attention to that. So financing, dealer financing, rebates, leasing, 0% is a fact or fiction. People always ask about that. 0% can be a really good thing from a dealership. The problem with 0% is it's typically tier 1 plus credit. So it's going to be the optimum credit to get that 0%. And where a lot of people make a mistake that I saw when they were coming into the dealership when I was at Honda was they would come in expecting the 0%, knowing they didn't have tier 1 credit, but they figured I'm close, so I'll get close to that 0%. And that's not how the dealerships work. You either get the 0% or bam, you're at 3%, 4%, whatever the higher rate is. So there's no in between. So there's no getting close to that 0%. You either get it or you don't. The other thing is 0% versus rebate. You really have to pay attention and make sure that that 0% you're getting, you're not going to lose a rebate. Because typically, Toyota, for example, they'll give you the 0% for a shorter term, for a 60-month term. but you lose, say, a $3,000 rebate. And when you calculate the math, the $3,000 rebate is much better value than the 0%. So don't get fooled by that 0%. You don't have to dealer finance. That's another thing they're going to talk to you about when you're in that finance department. Well, to get this deal, you got to finance it with us. I know you have a pre-approval with Wescom, but you're going to have to finance with us to be able to get this deal. I promise you, if you tell them that's not the game I'm playing, if you don't want to take my pre-approval, I'm out. And they may fight you a little bit, but as soon as you get up and walk out the door, they're going to stop you. Like, oh, no, just kidding. Come on back. Let's get this deal signed. They're not going to lose a deal because of that. So don't let them fool you on that. And then leasing, we just talked about. So make sure it's right for you before you go with the leasing.
Hey, Tim, there were two questions that came in that I think were relevant to your last slide. If
Sure.
we can just pause for a quick moment. When you're referencing tier one, can you give the audience an idea of what tier one credit would be? And then a follow-up to that would be, is there a good credit score for a first-time buyer? Maybe you can speak to the better your credit score, the better the interest.
Yeah, absolutely. So tier one credit at a dealership is typically going to be 720 or better. So 720 credit score or better is going to be your tier one. Now, as far as first-time buyers, it really depends on if you have any credit or not. And that's the good thing with going with Wescom is they have first-time buyer programs that you can jump on, and your interest rate will be decent. It's not going to be a high interest rate. You go into a dealership as a first-time buyer, you're going to have a high interest rate. You're going to have 6, 7, 8% interest rate. Where you can go to Wescom, be your first-time car buyer, and they'll give you a better interest rate on that. And then, like I said earlier, with that program, if after 1 year you've made all your payments on time, I'd recommend doing auto pay. Do all your payments on time, they'll readjust that loan for you.
Thanks, Tim.
Yep. All right, so talking about trade-in. So, know what your trade's worth when you take it in to trade it in. One thing they used to tease about when I was at the dealership was, I can't sell your car and buy your car. So you got to tell me what you want for it. If you go into a dealership and you don't know what your value is worth, they're going to ask you, what do you want for your trade? Or they're going to ask you, how much is your payoff? Don't give them an inflated number. If you go in and you say, oh, I don't really know what it's worth. What do you guys give me for it? It could be a $10,000 car and they're going to offer you $5,000 for it. Because if you don't know what it's worth, they're going to take advantage of that. So take a look at Kelley Blue Book. Look at what the wholesale value is. Look what the trade-in value is. Look what the market value is. If you're selling it by yourself, on your own private party, then you're going to want to sell it for market value. If you're trading it in, it'll give you trade-in value on kvb.com. So you can get an idea of what the wholesale to trade-in value is. And if you get somewhere in there, you're doing good. So pay attention to that. You can use the research tools, like I just talked about, to get an idea of what the car is worth. And then condition is everything. When you're trading in a vehicle, make sure it's clean. Go get it washed. People used to bring in trades all the time that were just dirty, and they figured, I'm trading it in. I'm not going to spend the money to wash it. And they don't get as good of a value on their trade-in because of that. So make sure the car is clean. Vacuum under the seats. Make sure the trunk's clean. But spend that $30, $40 and go get that car washed and get it cleaned. Damage. If there's some minor scratches here and there, go get an $8 bottle of touch-up paint and do some little touch-up paint on the vehicle. And make sure there's no major damage on the vehicle. Make sure it looks good. That helps. And then, like I talked about earlier, check your local prices for value. Get onto Auto Trader, get onto Kelley Blue Book, and take a look and see what it's worth. No knowledge is power when you go to a dealership. So make sure you know what your trade-in is worth. So that way, if you go in, your car's worth $10,000. How much do you want for your trade? I want $12,000 for it. Start a little high and then work down. Why not? They're going to act like they're your friend, but they're not your friend. So hit them hard, hit them high. So negotiate. If you're going to go to a dealership, you got to negotiate. Or you could just use Autoland and not have to fuss with it at all. So credit union difference, Wescom, Autoland, it's going to be so much easier for you. All the stuff I talked about, all the hassle you have to go through with buying a car, you can avoid all of that by using Wescom and Autoland. You get pre-approved. There's no messing around with your approval, with your rate. It's credit union. They work for you. Wescom works for you. So they're going to give you the best rate right off the bat. You know what your budget is. Coming to Autoland, we're credit union owned. So we have all the same rules and philosophies that the credit union does. We're here to help you. So check out their website. It's super easy to get pre-approved. Check out cars, and it's fun. There's our website, what it looks like. New, pre-owned, trade-in. There's reviews you can watch. We've got some cool videos on there you can take a look at. You can shop by make, you can shop by price, you can shop by type of vehicle, get a value of your trade-in if you have a trade-in. So it's super easy, it's fun. Let the car buying experience be fun. We want it to be fun for you because it's fun for us. So make sure it's fun. I hope these tips can help you out. I want it to be easy for you. I want it to be a financially sound experience for you. So it's going to be, you never want to overbuy a car because then you're never happy with the car. So make sure you get the right car for the right price and you'll love your vehicle. With that, I'm done. Any questions for me?
Yeah, Tim, we have several questions. So let me do 2 or 3 right now, and then I'm going to give Marvin his turn, and then we can continue at the end. Mercedes was asking that her parents highly recommend CarMax because of the final sale. Do you have any thoughts on that, or any other dealers that are similar?
Yeah, absolutely. As CarMax, we have since 1971, we've been doing that. So we have, when you look at our pricing, that's our final price. It's a great price. Dealers really have a hard time beating our price. If they do, they're adding something on the back end, like a low jack or an alarm system or something like that to make up the difference. So yeah, it's a great way to go. One thing you want to be careful of with CarMax, they started with subprime lending, so their interest rates seem to be a little higher sometimes when you buy a vehicle. So just be cautious of that if you go that route.
Thanks, Tim. And then the other question is, in speaking of pre-approvals, do you need to have a pre-approval if you intend to pay in full?
No, if you're paying cash, you're good to go.
All right. And then generally speaking, would you recommend a private purchase or a dealer purchase or a private purchase for a first-time buyer?
I would always recommend a dealer purchase, only because, especially a first-time buyer, because you want the car inspected, you want the car checked out before you buy it. So you can buy a pre-owned vehicle from a dealership or from Autoland, and you're going to get a Carfax. The car's been inspected. If it needed brakes, it gets brakes. If it needed tires, it got tires. It definitely got an oil change and any other services that are needed. So the benefit of going with a dealership or with Autoland is that car is going to be ready to go for you when you get it. You buy a private party, there's going to be costs incurred that you're going to need to take care of before that car is really sound and ready for you to go.
And then I'm going to paraphrase this one because I lost it on my screen, but if you're offered the extended warranty, do you recommend always getting that?
I would, but I would get it with your credit union. Dealerships, they make really good money on extended warranties. So always get your warranty with your credit union, your extended warranty. They have great programs, and I'm not kidding. It's at least half the price, sometimes more.
Appreciate it, Tim. So I will answer the other questions that came through in the chat. So I'll let you turn it over unless you have any final thoughts, and then we can continue with the few minutes that we have left.
No, that's it. Thank you, everybody, for your time tonight.
Thank you for that, Tim. Now let's hand it over to Marvin Fernandez. Marvin, please take it away and let the audience know what they're going to learn about auto insurance.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for your time. My name is Marvin Fernandez. I'm with Wescom Insurance Services, and we're going to talk a little about insurance over here. So regarding insurance, and thank you, Tim, for the information. All very helpful information. I wish I had known this when I had bought my first couple vehicles and had actually learned some of the stuff, even though I bought many vehicles in the past too. So thank you for that, Tim. So with that, obviously, as you know, when you are financing a vehicle, you are going to have to provide comprehensive and collision on the vehicle. It's technically the banks or the people that are providing the money for that until you get the car paid off. So we're going to talk about auto insurance. We're going to talk about, when you're looking for it, shopping for it. We'll talk a little about coverage options, recommended coverage limits. I'm going to talk a little about the common myths and misconceptions, some claim FYIs. Hopefully you'll never have a claim, but this is very important for you in the event that you do have a claim, that you don't dig a deeper hole for yourself. So as we get started, as you know, insurance, it's risk assumption. A certain amount of premium is going to be collected based on your characteristics. And what insurance companies are trying to do is they're trying to forecast the probability of you being in an accident and having to pay for a claim. And during that process, they want to obviously get enough money to be able to cover that claim and their expenses on that, or they are going to be or they are going to risk becoming insolvent. Now, this is information just at a 30,000 foot level. When you do get into more specifics, we highly recommend that you do talk to someone that is licensed, experienced, that really can provide the situation for your unique risk. So let's go ahead and talk about the different distribution methods. Typically, there are 3 different types of distribution channels. You have insurance agents, which is like the State Farm, the Farmers, and the Allstate, all very good companies. But in the insurance agents, they actually work for that specific insurance company. So when you are talking to a State Farm agent, they are a State Farm employee. They get their paycheck from State Farm, and most of that business is going to be put through State Farm, which is a very, very good market. But as you know, each risk characteristic is unique, and you want to make sure that based on the information that you are providing, that they are giving you the best price based on the coverages and everything else that you do need. Now, conversely, they do represent the insurance company. An insurance broker, a lot of the same functionality, but they are more representative of you as the client. And Wescom is an insurance broker. We represent many different markets. You'll see we'll have some of our partner information later. And then based on that information that we get from you, we will make sure that we put all the information in. We're going to get back the rates from the insurance company, and that gives us a good rate indication to be able to convey how much this insurance company is, and also to discuss the other options that you do have. Conversely, you see a lot of advertising by direct writers, companies like Geico, Progressive, all very, very good companies, but they primarily will write their market, and you may not necessarily get the level of service on the consultation because they are representative primarily of that insurance company. But they do advertise a lot. They're here to stay. And either one of these distribution channels, just please make sure that you are taking a look and that you are shopping. And that brings us to our next slide. So regarding the distribution channels, there are 3 different ways that you can get the auto insurance. You can do it traditionally with people in person. I know COVID's kind of changed a lot of that. You can do it over the phone, or you can go online and get the insurance. And what you really want to be able to try and get is an apples to apples comparison. Whereas you may be getting a quote from this person, from this agency over here, but then when you talk to someone else, they may have a price that might be considerably less. Well, there may be some reasons for that, such as different coverage limits, different coverage options, and you really want to be able to get more of an apples to apples comparison for that. And the information that you are going to need in order to be able to get a quote is some basic information: name, date of birth, the license numbers, your driving history, the VIN number, odometer reading. Those are going to be asked for eventually, but if you have the year, make, and model, that's oftentimes enough to be able to get at least a price indication. And when you are shopping for insurance, there's plenty of different ways to be able to save money on your insurance. Primarily, you hear a lot of it, the advertising on it regarding bundling policies. The more policies you have with an insurance company, the more discounts that they're able to provide. And those discounts usually cascade from whether you get a auto policy, there'll be a discount there. If you get that with a homeowner's policy, there'll be a discount on that. If you get an RV, if you get all these other different lines of businesses, there is going to be a cost savings by having all that information, by having all your policies with one company. And then I'm going to state the obvious over here. Don't get a ticket, don't get accidents, don't get DUIs. Those are things that are going to drive the price of your insurance up more than just about anything else. The way the insurance companies will look at you is they're going to take these characteristics, The main characteristics they're going to look at is they're going to see, what type of risk you are when you do have your vehicle. If you are prone to speeding, if you are prone to having accidents, if you get a DUI, you are a much more elevated risk, which means that you are going to be charged substantially more on the insurance premium because there is a greater propensity that you are going to be involved in an accident on that. Ways to save is in California, one of the primary rating factors for insurance is the annual miles that you do drive. And generally, the average person in California drives, and this is a DMV study, they generally drive about 13,800 miles. Some drive a lot less, some drive a lot more, but based on the mileage, that is going to be determined into your rate too. Another way that you can save money is by raising your deductible. Generally, we are quoting either a $500 or $1,000 deductible. In the event that you decide to go with a $1,000 deductible, which is what the majority of our policyholders do take, particularly when you have a vehicle that is worth $40,000, $50,000, that provides a discount. It's usually about anywhere from 5 to 12% on the deductible, just by moving it from 500 to 1,000. Different things, particularly shopping around. We talked about the different distribution channels, how to be able to get quotes, and just understand that with the different distribution channels, with the different companies, they all have different appetites. They all say that they want this type of driver, but how they go about to be able to get that premium rate, they go about it in a different manner from company to company. So it is important to shop around. Plus anything else such as anti-theft devices is going to help, taking a defensive course, and also paying all at once. That saves you on the billing fees. So we're going to jump into auto insurance coverage. And this is a term that you will hear every so often in insurance, is full coverage. In full coverage, just please understand that there is no such thing as full coverage. Every company has restrictions, every company has exclusions. Everything affects things down the road, and each situation is unique. But the most important insurance that you are going to get is going to be liability insurance. Liability is primary, it's required in all the states. For California, liability limits are 15, 30, and 5. And what I mean by the different numbers is the first number indicates how much coverage of liability is going to be provided for a single person during that accident. The second number, 30, is how much coverage is going to be provided for that accident, for that whole incident, no matter how many people are involved. And then the last number, 5, happens to do with the amount of property damage that is being provided. Now, 15, 30, and 5 was a coverage limit that was established way back in 1968. It has not been raised ever since, but we generally will not sell anything less. If you are renters, the lowest we'll go is 25, 50, 25. If you're a homeowners, we highly suggest minimum limits of 100, 300, 100. A lot of the policies we do sell are going to be 250, 500, and 250. Now, for uninsured motorist coverage, 1 out of every 6 drivers in California is uninsured. And this is a coverage that, I feel very strongly about, because you may have the coverages that you think you need, but if you don't have uninsured motorist coverage, if your car gets into an accident, if you have comp and collision, great. Okay, the comp and collision will go ahead and help pay for that vehicle, but you are responsible for the deductible. In the event that you're involved in an accident with someone who doesn't have insurance and you are injured, there is oftentimes not any resources for you to go after that individual other than take them to court. But if they don't have any resources, if they don't have any money or any assets or anything else, then you're kind of left on your own to be able to see what you can recoup from that individual. Now, what uninsured motorist does is that it will take care of you on your bodily injury, making sure that you're all squared away, and then it'll subrogate against the individual responsible for that accident. On the uninsured motorist property damage, it will end up waiving the property, your comp and collision deductible. So in the event you're involved in an accident with somebody who doesn't have insurance and your car gets damaged, then there is no out-of-pocket deductible expense incurred by yourself. Now, comp and collision, we have talked about, obviously, when you are financing the vehicle, standard is usually a $500 or $1,000 deductible. Collision, self-explanatory. If you run into something or something runs into you, comprehensive covers just about everything else other than collision. Some of the other coverages that you can get is medical payments too. Medical, it's usually a lower limit, anywhere from $500 to $5,000, and it covers the medical expenses for you and the passengers in your vehicle. It's not a substitution for your health insurance. You know, generally medical, if you can get the ambulance ride taken care of or anything else or any financial relief, great. But there are lower sublimits that generally only go up to about $5,000 for the medical. But hopefully with health insurance, or you do have coverage somewhere else with that, then that's where that would help pay for your medical expenses. Also, great coverages to have is towing and roadside assistance. In the event that you get into an accident, and we had talked about full coverage, oftentimes what we find out is a policyholder may think they have full coverage, and then they get into an accident, and then they're on the hook for having to cover the towing and the other roadside assistance coverages that they need. It's something that in the event that you do need it, it will pay you a fixed amount anywhere. It usually ranges for $30 all the way up to $90 a day for X amount of time to be able to pay for any of your expenses when it does come to towing. What I didn't put in here, I'm sorry, was the rental car coverage. So just keep in mind, if your car is disabled and involved in an accident, that if you don't have that coverage, you're going to be on your own on getting that rental. Now, you may be able to sue the individual where their liability would cover for that. But in the meantime, that's going to be you making the arrangements, having to get the rental coverage on that. That is what's going to be paying, I'm sorry, for anywhere from $30 to $60 to $90 a day, up to a set amount of time to be able to provide you the rental coverage that you do need. Also, the gap coverage, and Tim talked about this, particularly with certain year makes and models. Once you drive off that lot, that car is devalued several $1,000s. And I can speak to personal experience from a friend of mine that has gone through this, to where they had a car for a year. Unfortunately, they had totaled the car on the 405 freeway, and the insurance company settled the claim for X, but the loan balance was for Y. And that difference between X and Y was something that they had to come out of their pocket. So, you know, just please be mindful. Gap coverage is a great coverage to have. One of the things we did put in here that Tim had talked about is the mechanical breakdown insurance or the factory warranty. The dealerships, they provide that coverage, but that coverage is expensive and not as comprehensive as some of the coverage that is available out there. At Wescom, we provide what we call a mechanical breakdown insurance. In the event that something goes awry with your vehicle, depending on the coverage plans, it is a much more comprehensive policy that is underwritten by Mercury Insurance and provides a tremendous amount of peace of mind being able to have that, knowing that most of these things are going to be covered for you. So certainly take a look at that. And then deciding on coverages that you do need. If you have a vehicle and you're renting a place, It is much, much different than when you do have assets such as a home, maybe a secondary vacation home, some of these other assets that you may acquire as you financially make your way around, around life on that. I would recommend, if you are a renters, to have nothing less than 50, 150 for the coverages. Things are expensive to fix, particularly in California. A lot of the policies we do will sell will go as low as 25, 50, 25. And just know that it's $25,000 when it comes to bodily injury, $50,000 per incident on the bodily injury. But that property damage for renters on 25,000, that refers to contents. And you can see how quickly, particularly if you have a lot of electronics, how that adds up to that 25,000 pretty quick. But there are a lot of things to take into consideration when it comes to how much coverage that you need. Minimally for homeowners, we recommend 100, 300, 100. A lot of our homeowner policies, we write at higher limits. And then on top of that, we will put an umbrella on that, because this gentleman may have a business. He may have a couple investment properties. He may have secondary homes to where they need an umbrella policy that rides on top of their auto insurance policy, where they have multi-million dollars worth of coverage. So as an insurance broker, we represent many different markets. Our largest market that we represent is Mercury Insurance. They're a very well-known market, very good with the family policies, particularly if you have a young driver who has their permit. It's really what they're targeting. But we also write a lot of business with companies like Travelers, Safeco, Progressive, Kemper. And it's really all the pieces of the puzzle that we get when we get your information on your address, the vehicle that you drive, the MVR activity, your driving activity. And we're going to go ahead and put that information into a rating system where one of these companies is going to pop up. And based on that, we are going to present prices. We're going to give options to our members on that. So again, it's very important to shop. And these markets that we do represent, they're all licensed, admitted, A-rated, brand name companies. We are very particular about the markets that we do represent, because with Wescom and the members, we need just to make sure that you're going to be there today and tomorrow. We're not after just the low price, because oftentimes you get what you pay for. We want companies that we know are going to be there in the future, that are going to take care of our members, and they are going to pay out on claims on that. So some common misconceptions that we have over here is that please be aware that every insurance policy is going to have restrictions. And these restrictions vary widely from company to company. On more preferred companies, they offer more of a broader, what we call permissive use. That means, if Sal wanted to borrow my vehicle every once in a while, he could, and he would still have those coverages. There are insurance companies out there, particularly the companies that are more for higher risk individuals, there are named driver only policies. And what we mean by named driver only policies is that the only coverages that are going to be provided are anybody that is listed on that policy. Everyone else is excluded. So be very, very careful about that. Not all policies are created equal. And also, wanted to talk about the assets too. You don't necessarily have to have a lot of assets to make sure that you do get the proper insurance coverage that you do need. In the event that you don't have high enough limits and you get into an accident and you are financially responsible for what happens in that accident, what can happen is that they can garnish your future earnings on that. So you want to be able to make sure that for the coverages that you are getting, that you do have enough coverage. And even oftentimes raising those limits of liability is only just a few dollars more too. Another thing is, we had talked about no such thing as full coverage, but I had mentioned about named driver only policies and permissive use. Got to make sure that you have the policy that is going to cover people that do drive it on an infrequent basis. Now, please keep in mind that's much, much different in the event that you are, say, renting a house with 3 other roommates. Your 3 other roommates on the policies that you get will either need to be included or excluded off your policy. And the reason for that is the fact that you are living with them and they do have regular access to that vehicle. And insurance companies want to know the type of risks and the people that are driving that. So just remember, in the event that you are in a roommate situation, that you are disclosing on the policy who is in that household, either included or excluded off that. And also for business use, there is some business use that may be covered. And again, you would have to talk individually to your insurance advisor for this. If you're using the car occasionally for business use, there's no materials such as liquids, raw materials, and it's only maybe used for like outside sales call, just paperwork, then that sort of business use can be acceptable for that. If you do Uber, Lyft, insurance companies will cover that, but there's an endorsement where there is a small additional premium that needs to be taken for that. Otherwise, that sort of coverage is going to be excluded there. But again, please consult an insurance advisor for that. And then claim FYIs, just some basic things about claims on this is, hopefully you never run into the situation, but in the event that you do get into an accident and someone's hurt, please make sure you do call the police. Someone is injured in an accident, that is going to denote that a police report is going to have to be generated. And then even if it is your fault in an accident, don't come out and start saying, I'm sorry, it was totally my fault, I didn't see you. Just be careful what you say on that, because that will be used against you on that. Please let the claims adjuster, the police officer, other people make that determination on really what transpired during the accident, and don't put yourself and the insurance company in a hole by admitting fault prematurely. And another thing is document everything. Please take pictures, basic details of the accident, take a picture of the intersection, take a picture of the license and registration for the other parties, get their information. The more information that you do get, the better that you will be protected in the event that the other claimant decides to put in for a claim that really didn't transpire during this event. So the more information that you get, witnesses and everything else, that is going to help your cause. So anyway, just be aware that on these accidents, just be careful, don't fix anything before the claim, and file the claim as soon as possible. So, I do appreciate the information, the opportunity to speak about insurance and the information. Here is the information for WWIS, our phone number. I'll provide the information over to Sal. And then let me go ahead and turn it over. And if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know, and I would be happy to address it.
Marvin, thank you so much for that as well. Great information, great presentation. I know that we're being very cognizant of everyone's time, and I just want to wrap it up on the contact information. Please join us at wescom.org. Contact us on our 888 number. And then also, I would also like to point out that Martha has our winner for our $25 gift card. Martha Prado, please, our branch manager at the UCLA branch, please tell us who the winner of our $25 UCLA store gift card is.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for participating tonight. Our lucky winner is Mercedes. You have won the $25 gift card to the UCLA store. Congratulations.
Thank you for that, Martha. Mercedes, congratulations. And just for that, I just want to let everyone know that we do appreciate you being on this call, listening to this information that we've provided. And for everyone to please stop by Martha's branch at UCLA or contact her team at the UCLA branch. They are serving UCLA current students and the UCLA Alumni Association as well. for all of your financial needs. With that being said, is there any other questions that we haven't addressed that we'd like to get to? If not, Derek, I'd like to hand the ball back off to you and for closing. So thank you so much for everyone's time. Thank you.
Yeah, so again, I just want to thank you all for coming to our Keys to Car Buying event. I hope all of you can go buy your dream car now at the best deal possible. Also, thank you again to Wescom for joining us today. I know I definitely learned a lot and hope all of you did too. I can send out all of their contact information if any of you are interested in following up with them with more questions. And finally, I hope all of you have a great rest of your evening. Bye, everyone.